sound working?
كأسة جديدة يا حمزة صغيرة ها؟ جيب لي واحد صغيرة.
هكذا ولا هكذا؟
أي yeah.
This one has some cans.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، أحتاج كأس فاضية لو سمحت، الله يبارك فيك، صغيرة وفارغة ها؟ أوكي. وزجاج أو حاجة صينية، في ياباني، في شيء صيني. طيب بسم الله. جيبها يا حمزة، نجيبها إن شاء الله في خير. ماشي، الله يبارك فيك، شكرا. All right, so tonight's class, inshallah, will be from Al-Lu'lu wal-Marjan, the compilation of hadiths that have been collected by the two sheikhs, Bukhari and Muslim, Sheikh Muhammad Fawad Abdul Baqi. We're coming up on the 1,000 hadith milestone, alhamdulillah. All of those hadiths, that's a lot of hadiths. 900 hadiths, 926 hadiths, كثيرة جدا. تحتاج إلى مراجعة ومذاكرة وإعادة. You have to review those hadiths, the memorization of them, the reading of them, the classes, the lessons, all of the fawaid, the fiqh, the ahkam, all of those masail fiqhiyya, Nawawi, Jumhur, Abu Hanifa, right, over the years, right? Yeah. And as the Salaf al-Salih, the pious predecessors would say, mudhakaratul ilmi hayatuhu. The lifeblood of knowledge is revision. That's the life, the hayat of ilm is to revise, is to review. Especially when you cover a lot of ground and you move forward, you take a lot of circuits and loops, you now have a greater responsibility. Whereas success comes with great challenges and a high responsibility. And that responsibility is now you got to review even more. You got to review what? Even more. The more money you make, the more receipts. The more accounting, the better your accountant has to be, correct? Is this not the case? The business is flowing, it's booming. So now that is less free time to laugh, to joke, to sit around. That's more what? Decimals, counting up. The receipts have to match. This went, this came in, right? Thinking that more money just means easier, happier, not necessarily. Is now a great responsibility you have, being more affluent and being more prosperous. So one of the ways, the brothers and the sisters, they always ask, how do I become a student of knowledge? How do I become a hadith disciple? How do I understand? How do you extract the benefits from the hadith? Kayfa astanbitu? Kayfa astakhrij? How do I read this book? What's the minhaji of that book, right? These questions, they come all of the time. There are many different ways, many different tools of the trade, many different tricks, many different secrets, many different just old-fashioned hard work elements. وَمِنْهَا, and from them is the secret and the magic of mudhakara and of muraja'a. And that's how you allow the knowledge to stick with you and to stay with you when you revise it. And as some of the scholars of the past, such as Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he had mentioned that there were some people of hadith, some ulama of hadith, they would يحدث التلميذ يحدثه ثم يغيب عنه سنة نصف سنة سنتين ثلاث سنوات. 6 months, a year, 3 years later, whatever, they would be busy, they would travel, Hajj, Umrah, right? jihad fi sabilillah, whatever was the reason for them traveling, trading, buying, selling. Then they would come back, and they would meet that young man, they would meet that student, and they would say, Yalla hat, tell me the hadiths that I gave you with the chains, etc. And if the student of knowledge would stutter or stammer, if he couldn't quote it, if he wasn't sharp, he would say, Khalas, Assalamu alaikum, Jazakallah khairan. Take care. You can study fiqh if you like, no problem. Maybe you're made for usul of fiqh. This madhab, you can be Shafi'i, Hanafi, la bas. You can be a trader, you can be a merchant, a painter, a poet, etc. But hadith, no. You're unsuited for hadith. You understand? If you can't make review and revision, you should go be what? Something else. Don't quit your what? Your day job. The importance of revision. And of course, this advice and speaking of this methodology, they must fall upon my own ears first and foremost before anybody else. But even if I'm sick, I still have a job to do writing the prescription. Correct? Doctors smoke cigarettes outside of the hospital. You ever see the doctors on their lunch breaks, their coffee breaks? 9 out of 10 of them do what? They're behind, they're smoking. That's a fact. And you go into the what? Into the say, doc, my chest is, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. And he's gonna tell you what? You gotta what? You go in there and say, I hurt my knee. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Are you this? Are you that? Are you this? Are you that? You got the point? So the doctor still has the responsibility of what?
Take care of patients.
Speaking the truth. Even if he himself what? Is in need of the remedy more than others with regards to the importance of revision. And the secret that lies, or the secrets that lie in just reviewing something. And how you understand it better the second time, the third time. How you practice a thing so often in which it becomes inseparable from your mind. And that allows you to quote the hadith, to talk about the issue, to answer the question, to this and that without thinking. You don't have to think about it anymore. It just bang, boom. It just comes right to your mind. Everybody understand this? And we've explained this many times before. All right? Wallahu ta'ala alam. Okay. So we're in Kitab al-Rada', the chapter of breastfeeding, which we explained is that many hadiths or many subchapters or chapters in this book are going to deal with Kitab al-Nikah. Right? And other issues as well. So let's move forward now. Chapter 13. And what did we mention last week, Muzammil? What did we talk about briefly? It was last week's class about Muzammil. Ya ayyuhal Muzammil, qumil layla. Except for a little, huh? He's supposed to be standing all night with that name.
Yeah.
Your parents gave you that name, huh? That's rough. Huh? Is that abrogated? Those verses, are they abrogated? Huh? You don't have to stand all night anymore, except for a little. Nisfahu, half or less. That's no longer the ruling. That was the early Meccan period. But
It's still in play.
inshallah. What was last week's class about? Hamza. It was last week's class about Abir. Call that a no-look pass, right? You pass the ball without what, Hamza? Without looking. Yalla.
Last week's class was in regards to.
All right, stop the tape. Pause the tape. Disciplism. It sounds like a fancy word, right? What is that? Disciplism, right? What is the technique? What's the way of the disciple with regards to what we're doing right now? Who knows?
Taking notes.
No, something else.
Disciple.
La.
Revising.
With regards to revising, with regards to quoting, what is our way? I shared this many times, making a parallel of something worldly. Baseball.
Culture.
No,
Base hit.
not even a base hit, but what?
Want to make contact.
The lead batter is to do what? His job is to do what? At least to do what? No. I'm a failed teacher.
Make it to first base.
Thank you. Make it to what?
First base.
First base. You get walked, you get hit by the pitch, you make it to what? First base, not to hit the grand slam. So if we're reviewing and revising, and you're a little stuck or slow or sluggish, what should you do, Abir? All you need to do is do what? Is to think of something small and simple. Just snag it. Right? I know for sure last week we were talking about breastfeeding. Yaqinan. Then, once you get a correct answer, no matter how small or short it may be, that's going to lead to what?
A bunch of other things.
Your mind may start rolling. Right? Or the teacher, in this instance me, may what now? Iowa. Now I get on somebody else. But if you're stuck, you get it? Because you're thinking about a double. You're thinking about a home run. You're thinking about a big, heavy ball to hit. Instead of just what? Getting on base. Last week we spoke about this. For sure. Then your brain, the momentum starts to flow. You understand? So never ever think that you have to take a big swing or a haymaker in the beginning. With regards to revision and revising. We're in a majlis, a circle. Udhkur, you mentioned. All you need to do is what? Think of what? Something quick. Then what?
Pick it up.
And the next thing you know, well, heck it, you got it? That's much better than the lead hitter looking for a sweet pitch to hit. Just get on base. Get on first base. Steal a base. Allow the slugger to come after you to what? Bring you home. You guys, you with me or not? We shared this before. All right? We explained this before. Okay. What did we speak about last week? Sajid.
We spoke about, well, it was in Kitab al-Ra. We talked about the hadith of Zayd ibn Hadith and Usama ibn Zayd.
Tayyib. What do we speak on? What was the highlighting mark of the story of Zayd ibn Haritha and Usama bin Zayd radiallahu anhu? Was the what? What was the word we use? Physiognomy, which means in simple terms, English, al-qa'if, ahsant, the one who
Recognizes.
Aywa, and look to see who's related, who's not related, etc. Good. Okay. Tayyib. What else did we speak on Ibn Victor last week?
With regards to the owner of the bed,
The owner of the bed. What's meant by that? That was last week and also
The week
the
before.
week before. Anything else?
Discuss.
And don't. That's another secret of studying. Effort. Even if it's wrong or if it's a week before, the teacher will give you a mark. I learned that from Medina. And the teachers, many teachers, they would tell us when we took the exam, never ever leave the exam blank. Put something. And not only is it a big chance that you'll get something right, but oftentimes the teacher will what? Yes, he'll recognize your efforts. That's the secret of studying and disciplism, right? That's a parallel to boxing. Just throw your punches. It's the last round, last 30 seconds. You can't be conservative anymore. You're behind on the cards. The judges are biased. Now you just need to what? Make contact with the opponent. Let the punches go. And in most cases, you'll what? You'll land something. Not long you may land a what? A good punch, right? So never ever leave the exam what? Blank. When you're asked a question about something, mention something, right? Khairan inshallah. All right, anybody else? Abir, fadal.
Giving a sign.
The DNA. Does Islam, does the Sharia, can the Sharia depend upon, is it compliant with regards to what? A DNA test. The child is what? It's yours. They open up the envelope on the show. The child is what? You are not the father, or you are the father. That's not my son. She did see that. The DNA says, yo, bro. That shit, all right? You got to own that, right? Is that compliant with the Islamic rules, the Islamic law? Can we use that in Islamic court? DNA. We spoke about that. I don't know him. All right, anything else? Fadal Abir.
Giving a sign-on bonus to another wife that you marry.
Sign-in bonus. Allahu Akbar.
Whether it be
When a man marries a woman, that woman automatically deserves
sign-on bonus.
additional days. 3 or 7. Woman's a virgin, But a woman
Who's a thayyib.
isn't a virgin, right? And that's also another example of how the culture of the people today, the Muslims today, is very, very, I don't know, I want to say politically correct, yani, different from back then. In which the people today, they can only think of marrying a woman like this, and she's a virgin. And marrying a woman who isn't a virgin is something which is an unspeakable abomination. They can't even think about it. And they'll say bad things and try to disgrace the man or the woman. It's impossible. How could you marry a woman like this? Yeah, and still hadith after hadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentions what? What does the Prophet mention hadith after hadith? Yeah, Shu'aybu. The Prophet mentions what?
Thayyib.
Both. Aywa. He mentions what? Both. Is this not the case? How many times has it come in the hadiths with regards to seeking the permission, her consent in marriage? Every single time, whenever a woman, the issue or the discussion of marriage comes up, the Prophet always mentions what? Both. All right? You guys get the point or not? Say it on inshallah. All right, let's move forward. Chapter 13. The author, rahimahullah, he says, باب القسم بين الزوجات وبيان أن السنة تكون أو أن تكون لكل واحدة ليلة مع يومها. حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها أنها قالت كنت أغار على اللاتي وهبن أنفسهن لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أقول أتهب المرأة نفسها فلما أنزل الله تعالى ترجي من تشاء منهن وتؤوي إليك من تشاء ومن ابتغيت ممن عزلت فلا جناح عليك قلت ما أرى ربك إلا يسارع في هواك. Sharing visits to one's wives equally. And the sunnah is to give each one, or to give each one night along with a day. Hadith 926, narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, I used to look down upon those ladies who had given themselves to Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I used to say, can a lady give herself to a man? But when Allah revealed, you, O Muhammad, can postpone whom you will of them, and you may receive whom you will. I said to the Prophet ﷺ, I feel that your Lord hastens in fulfilling your wishes and desires. So this chapter really looks like a chapter that should be in Kitab al-Nikah, right? Okay? And we explained why. What's important is that with regards to polygamy in Islam, and we've said this, we've explained this, as a Muslim, let alone in the English language, you do not have to say polygyny, as many people think, erroneously, linguistically. You can use the term polygamy only speaking on a man with multiple women. It doesn't have to be multiple men. The words are interchangeable in English, let alone in Islam, of course, there's no what? Yeah, there's no need for it. There is no two-way street. It's a one-way street. A man having multiple wives and never the what? The opposite. So there isn't a necessity. It's not a shart for us to say polygyny. Rather, you can say what? Polygamy. All right. So, with regards to polygamy and its rulings, according to the Quran and Sunnah, there is that which is called al-qasm. And al-qasm is basically the division, mathematics. Not addition, not subtraction, not multiplication, algebra, right? This and that. But it's what? Not calculus, but it's what? Division. How are you going to slice and cut up the pie? And you only have one pie as a man. Your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, your time, your money, it's only one. So you have to what? Chop it up and divide it, right? The default of that division is to be equal. The default. Of course, there are different times and instances in which a person may get more or less depending on the situation and depending on what the people agree upon. What's important is that the default, more than one, equal division. 2, 3, 4 has to be what? Equally divided and split up. Everybody clear on this or not? Everybody understand this? And this process is called al-qasm. So in the books of fiqh, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali, Zahiri, In the books of Fatawa and Kutub al-Hadith, the chapters, you're going to research under that title or term what? Al-Qasam. Al-Qasam bayna az-zawjat. The rulings of Qasam. Everybody understand this? Okay. So here it says is that the sunnah is that every wife, every woman should have something of the man's time. A day and a night, or at least a night. Laylatun ma'a yawmiha, along with its day. Right? Is that a woman deserves this time from the man. And obviously, the rulings of Qasam, some of them are mentioned here in these chapters. As far as knowing the basic ABCs of this from beginning to end, then you're going to learn that in a small, concise, condensed book of fiqh. Common sense, guys. The light bulb has to cut on immediately with a question so easy. A condensed, small book of what? Of fiqh. What are the rulings, the most basic rulings of qasam? It's obligatory. It's recommended. What's meant by qasam? That you have to love your wives equally, have equal affection, etc. Is it just money? At least a day and a night from her husband. All right. When is a woman allowed to relinquish her night, her day issue? Is a woman allowed to get a double day or a double night at the expense of another because she relinquishes? What is the punishment and the threat for a man to show clear, open, public favoritism and inclination to one and ignore and neglect and abandon another without a reason or justification? Right? That's included in this. What is the ruling on a woman not fighting herself, not making the necessary jihad or nafs concerning her jealousy or insecurities that everybody has, starting with men, starting with me, as human beings, psychology. We all have insecurities. We all have inner weaknesses. Some of us have what? More than others. Some of us fight them better than others. Sometimes it's a battle of gender and sex. As a whole, do women have more insecurities than men? Are there women who are resolute and stout, firm, and men who are, weak and insecure as individual exceptions? And is it fair to say that as a whole, as a sex, that men have less insecurities than women? Or it's equal, but one sex wears those insecurities on their sleeves more than the other? Everyone understand this? So it's the ruling on a woman who's in polygamy, and she does not fight herself, and she allows her jealousy or her envy or her insecurities to dominate her and to control her. That's a problem. Or a woman who has those inner insecurities and weaknesses and jealousies, and then she then translates them into the outside world, which they don't exist. They only exist where? In the head. And they come outside, and those different thoughts and feelings that were flying around in her head now take arms and legs. And then the tafsir, this is because such and such. And this was done because of such and such. And that's not actually what? The case. Right? So both sexes, male and female, the man and the woman, the wife and the husband, etc., if you're going to do it, then they have responsibilities. Right? And obviously it's easy to point and not as easy to get pointed at. So you're being an unjust husband because of such and such, kada. But at the same time, it may be an issue in which you as a wife are what? You're not handling your what? Yourself properly. That it isn't like this, but that's how you feel on the inside, and then now it becomes what?
Your reality.
Which isn't a real reality, okay? So what's important is that a wife is supposed to have a day and a night at least. Qasam, is it obligatory? Is it recommended? A woman relinquishing her rights with regards to time. What's meant by division? Money, affection, love, intercourse. What's meant by that? Equality. What is the ruling on a man showing favoritism, being unjust between his wives? What is the ruling on a woman accusing her husband of being unjust, and that's not true, that is inaccurate, right? What happens when a man divorces a woman? She's in the iddah period. Does he still give her qasam? That's a ruling. She's in iddah. He has no intention of taking her back. Can he now just stay here at this wife's house? Or does he still have to give the woman in the iddah her day and her night? etc. Everybody clear on this? What is the fiqh on day and night, every 2 days, every 3 days, every week, every month, whatever agreement is made? ETC, the ahkam of qasam. Khayran, inshallah. The proofs and evidences, the madhabs, the differences of opinion, the branches, furu'at, tafri'at, al-muwallada, branch, what happens, that's all comes after you lay down a solid foundation. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, and it's a very interesting translation. It says, Kuntu agaru. And in English it says, I used to look down upon. Is that accurate translation? Agar to mean look down upon? Or does it mean something other than that? An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here in this chapter, before we get into breaking down a hadith, مذهبنا أنه لا يلزمه أن يقسم لنسائه بل له اجتنابهن كلهن لكن يكره تعطيلهن مخافة من الفتنة عليهن والإضرار بهن فإذا أراد القسم لم يجوز له أن يبتدي بواحدة منهن إلا بقرعة ويجوز أن يقسم ليلة وليلتين وثلاثا ولا يجوز أقل من ليلة ولا يجوز الزيادة على الثلاثة إلا برضاهن برضاهن هذا هو الصحيح في مذهبنا وفيه أوجه ضعيفة في هذه المسائل غير ما ذكرته واتفقوا على أنه يجوز أن يطوف عليهن كلهن ويطعهن في الساعة الواحدة برضاهن ولا يجوز ذلك بغير رضاهن وإذا قسم كان لها اليوم الذي بعد ليلتها ويقسم للمريضة والحائض والنفساء لأنه يحصل لها الأنس به ولأنه يستمتع بها بغير الوطء من قبلة ونظر ولمس وغير ذلك. Okay. So Nawawi, he discusses, speaking on the Shafi'i madhab, and obviously it makes the most sense for a scholar to speak on that which he's most proficient in, and that which he's a specialist in, not negating his knowledge of other fields and other subjects. But it's common sense for him to start off with that which he's most skilled in. So he says, madhabuna, our madhab, the Shafi'i way, he speaks on these different issues here with regards to, is it obligatory for a man to make the division among his wives? Or does he have the right to stay away from all of them? Ijtinabuhunna. Does he have to spend time with each one equally? Or can he just say, what? I'll stay away from you all. He says here, the correct understanding in our madhab is that he doesn't have to. But he should, out of fear that they will be left and abandoned and neglected and harmed. I.e., either you split it up or you what?
Don't stand.
You understand the difference? Not just one or two. It doesn't work like that. Either it's equal division or nothing. Everybody understand this? According to the Shafi'i school. Everybody clear on this? In other words, a man has 4 wives. Based off of this, in theory, if he doesn't want to split it up and divide it, then he what? He doesn't have to. And he can now do what? Avoid them. But if he's going to dip in and out, then it has to be spread out. For him now, that's first and foremost. And he says, and he shouldn't do that. That's disliked out of fear that they'll be harmed, neglected, etc. Now, is Noah speaking about the Prophet ﷺ specifically, or a man in general? That's another question. Obviously, these hadiths are all talking about who? What the Prophet did and how he laid down the law. He then says, and when a person wants to start the qasam, the division of the nights and the time, He can't just pick one, but he has to pick them impartially. Qur'a, like rock, paper, scissors, pulling straws, pulling a name out of a hat, whatever your culture may be. I don't understand this. You shake up the thingy, whatever the case may be, right? Whatever makes it a blind pick. Clear? And not favoritism. He then says, and it's lawful for him to make every night, every 2 nights, every 3 nights, etc. And it cannot be less than a day or less than a night. The qasam cannot be less than 1 night. When does the night begin? When does the night end? Is it based off of hours? Is it based off of culture? Is a man's job and work included? Hanging out with the fellas, laughing, joking, I'll be home such and such time. It's her night. Is that okay? Is that included? Right? All of that is taken into consideration. And one can say is that in general, when it's time to retire, you would normally go home. That is when the night starts. And not necessarily as soon as the sun sets, what? You better be home. Get home right now, huh? It's maghrib, khalas. Everybody clear on this? I'm not off work yet. Or daylight savings, or the wintertime. It gets dark, it's 4:30. You saying you gotta come home right now at 4:30 p.m. all the way until Fajr the next day. Nah, make the sunnahs for Fajr, huh? Lay down on your right side like the Prophet used to do, huh? Recite the Quran, make duha. Wahakada. You got it? The night was considered, was customarily regarded as the night. You came to spend the night with me. For and against the woman. Not too early and obviously what? Not too late. Everyone understand this? This is unacceptable. You come home at 12 a.m. without a reason, without an excuse. You come home at 1 a.m. tired, sleep. Where's my food? Someone can see you in the morning. Right? It's a problem. And of course, as we said before, all jokes aside, this goes to show the virtue of polygamy in Islam. Whereas it is supposed to bring the consciousness and the awareness of both spouses to the top. And that is because if you fumble, if you got an attitude problem, if you're tired, if you're this, if you're that, you didn't take a shower, you didn't shave, you didn't trim your nails, you're weak and you're tired, the time goes by. I only see you 1 night a week. So we gotta what?
Make it count.
You guys get it? I only see you 2 nights of the week, 3 days out of the week. So we have to what? Value the time instead of, whatever, I will spend time on the weekend. I'm tired. I was out with the brothers. We watched the game, whatever the case may be. We had some food. We shake fulans and tell. Right? I wanted to drive him around and, show him the city, so on and so forth. MashaAllah. He's here doing dawah. And she's like, look, what does dawah have to do with what? My time. Which is only, right? So the concept of a woman being mad with her husband, which is going to happen, it's human nature. Now, let's ask a real life question. What okay, whoever may dislike it, but the truth is the truth. A woman knows she's going to see for 6 more days, 6 more nights. There's no other woman, that she knows about. Right? Let's keep it real now. There's no legal 2nd, 3rd, 4th car parked in the parking lot. Right? Maybe in a legal park. The car may get towed or whatever. You guys get the point. She's the only wife. She knows that she's going to see for the remainder of the days, the remainder of the nights. Does she have more room to have an attitude problem? Yes or no? In theory. She has more room to be mad at you. It's your fault. You have to apologize to me. She has more room. I'm tired. I didn't get it. Less or more?
That's more. Less.
A lot more.
You say less. Why is it less?
Because she has more time with you.
She has more time with you. So that means she has more room or less room? I don't think we understood the
She
question.
has more time.
Well, it depends.
Guys didn't get it.
She has more
They didn't
time.
understand. How sad, did they? They didn't get it.
He doesn't have other options.
The question is clear. Hamza. Exactly. That's a whole different discussion. You can't get a second wife. You won't condition. Now I can basically just abuse you. It's like an employee, a monopoly. We know you can't get another job. We hired you with a jail record, such and such. So therefore, we're going to treat you what? How we want to. What do you want to do? Go somewhere else and work? Versus, my resume is tight. If you don't give me my rights, whatever, peace. You can take the apron, I'll quit. You don't have to fire me. And then the next day I'll be what? Hired. There's a difference in the human psychology. Quran, Sunnah, how people should treat each other, how they should, but we're talking about human beings. I own you, Hamza. You're mine. You're not going anywhere. So maybe I'll treat you kindly, but in most cases I what?
Abuse.
It's a fact. And if I don't abuse you, alhamdulillah, it's not that bad. There's no doubt I won't value as much because I'm going to see you every what? Every day. I'm not going to value as much. And the attitude or the fights and the arguments are going to be, in most cases, more prone because we have more time. We can make it up. Versus I'm only seeing Hamza for one day. He coming for one class, that's it. I have to make the most out of this class. If I'm late, if I got a headache, if I mess up, see you later. You guys get the point or not? So Hamza, not just the teacher, but the student, he's going to come in what? With the attitude of one day out of the week. I see Sheikh Mufti. One day out of the week, we read Bukhari. If we read Bukhari every day, would it be the same? Would the same attendance be, Abir? It wouldn't. You guys understand the fiqh behind this? So the concept of you being a better person, man and woman, through this. All right, moving forward. So Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, it can't be less than a night, and it cannot be more than 3, unless the wives give their consent. Can't be more than 3, unless they give their consent. Week, 4 days, whatever the case may be. He then says, and this is in the Shafi'i method, he says, and this is that which is correct in our school. Not all of the ulama agree on every point. There are other different issues, other views, other different ojuh that I didn't mention, I didn't get into. And they also agree, he says, is that he can see all of them in one night. He can visit them in one night, as long as they're aware and okay with that. You can check on this one, how you doing, sit with this one, have tea, have coffee, blah, 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 as long as they're what? As long as they're okay. And he can enjoy relationships with them, intimacy, as long as they're what? As long as they're okay with that. And it isn't okay if they aren't okay. Moving forward. And when he makes his division, وَإِذَا قَسَمَ كَانَ لَهَا الْيَوْمِ الَّذِي بَعْدَ لَيْلَتِهَا, she will have the day after the night. The day after the night. And the man also is to divide his time for the woman who's sick, the woman who's menstruating, and the woman who is suffering from postnatal bleeding. He can't just say, I ain't seen you tonight because, you got COVID, right? You got COVID tonight, or she's sick. She's suffering with the flu, fever, body aches. She can't move out the bed. He's like, look, Assalamu alaikum. I'll see you next week. It doesn't work like that. You got to visit her even though she's sick. She can't cook for you. She can't do this. You can't do this with her. You have to what? You still got to spend the time with her.
Take care of what's up.
You clearing this or not, Sheikh? You sure? In other words,
I get that part.
the point is what? Spending the time, dividing the time, isn't just based off of what the man is getting.
No, I was stuck on the part.
No, I know that's not what you were saying, but I was just trying to drive that home. It's not just based off of what the man is what? Getting. Even if it's not just sex. You're sick. What can you do for me right now? It's more than just what the man is receiving. The people, they should read these things. Non-Muslims, Muslims who have a problem or issue, chauvinistic, misogynist, so on and so forth. It's much. In reality, the woman is getting more. In reality, right? Fadl.
No, you actually got to politic that. In terms of the intimacy part too, you got to.
Hey, you either got it or you ain't, as they say. I'm a wise man from my hood say, haves and have-nots. That's all it is in life. Winners and losers. It's the field goal, almost made it, you lost. Either you got it or you ain't, right? How you figure that out, how you speak, this and that, smooth, wisdom, hikmah, domineering, alpha, red pill, you gotta what? That's a part of making the man what? Better. stronger. You understand? How am I going to explain to these women, is it okay if I go over, Kareem's house? Is that all right?
That's a tall order.
We are back.
What do you mean you going over Kareem's house? What, she baked you the cookies again? She made you brownies? She cooked your favorite meal? What are you doing over there? I'm just, I'm fixing some broken stuff in the house. All right, you go and you come right back. Versus, I'm going there tonight. It's understood. Or if it's clear and explicit, do you mind A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Well, that goes to show you how far men have strayed from.
Being none.
It may sound weird, unheard of. Yes, in our times, just like other things in Islam, how they would fight, how they would stand in prayer at night, how much Quran they would read, we've strayed from their way, right? But just to fathom that thought, right? You tell men you can't even get permission to go outside the house. We want to watch the game with the fellas, the brothers, eat some halal wings and some non-alcoholic beers. Nah, you on lock and key, let alone Kareem's house. That's a problem, right? So if you have that type of problem, that weakness, then this, what did the poet say? Strictly for what? Live men, not for what? Not for freshmen. This is not for average Joe here. If you ain't built like that. Sahih? The poet said it tonight, Victor. And he made that clear. If you ain't got the clientele, what? It's just that simple. All right, moving forward. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says, he must divide the nights for the sick woman, the menstruating woman, the woman who just gave birth, she's pregnant, she's weak, she's sick, etc. لِأَنَّهُ يَحْصُلَ لَهَا الْأُنْسُ بِهِ. And that is because she will enjoy him even if he can't enjoy her. That's what I said with regards to, it isn't just a one-way street. Gimme, 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 gimme. But it's a relationship as well. And any woman would tell you she will enjoy the company of the man. Even if they can't sleep with each other, you being in the house. Me seeing you, smelling you, hearing you, walk up and down the steps, that makes her feel good. So even though she's sick, she can't do nothing for you, you still have to be there based off of that, if you're going to make the division. وَلِأَنَّهُ يَسْتَمْتِعُ بِهَا. Didn't know what he says, turning the tide. He says, and that's because he can also enjoy her outside of sexual intercourse. Kissing her, looking at her, touching her, وَغَيْرِ ذَلِكَ. And what? Other things. You understand? It's not just one thing that can take place, right? Moving forward. قال أصحابنا وإذا قسم لا يلزمه الوطء ولا التسوية فيه بل له أن يبيت عندهن ولا يطع واحدة منهن وله أن يطع بعضهن في نوبتها دون بعض لكن يستحب أن لا يعطلهن وأن يسوي بينهن في ذلك كما قدمناه والله أعلم. The Shafi'is, they say, and when he makes the division, when he splits the time up, he does not have to have intercourse with them. لا يلزمه الوطء. He doesn't have to have sex with them. ولا التسوية فيه. Nor does he have to be equal with the sexual relations. Doesn't have to. The Shafi'is, they say. Rather, he can stay with one of them or them and not have intercourse with any of them. It's not binding upon him. وَلَهُ أَنْ يَطْعَ بَعْضَهُنَّ طيب, he says one he can be with intimately without another. However, it's recommended not to do that. And that he should fulfill their desires. Once again, guys, and he should be equal in that, he says as well. This goes to show, for those who have whatever agendas or problems, all you think about is sex and talk about is sex. A man being with one woman is only based off of sex. That's all it is. Blah, 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 blah. You guys are in modern days, 2023, or this race. This is he's saying it's what? How many hundreds of years ago? And he's explaining a big part of everything, right? And the truth is never, ever subservient to shyness or to a person's culture, which is very hypocritical. A person paints himself as being this white knight, this type of saint. Oh, I can't understand why. But then you look at their culture, their things, their music, their paintings, their poems, and you see all types of stuff. So don't act like you come from some, angelic background and you want to make this race of people or these people living in the city these demons that are just driven by sexual desires. Your culture is full of perversions when it comes to sexuality, right? So Islam is the best solution. It embraces, it addresses, it's upfront, it's real, and it regulates it. Instead of denying it, ignoring it, acting like it doesn't exist, and acting like it isn't a central piece of the bond between what? Male and female. Bro, are we speaking the same language? That is a major part of the marriage. How are you trying to make it into some what? Some small side note, right? And most people who act like that and who talk like that, in most cases, they're not keeping it real. They either have major deviations with them, they're lying, they have some type of agenda, or they're ignoring and neglecting and abandoning their one wife or wives or whatever the case may be, right? The spiritual or the moral high ground, looking down, talking down to people, right? And nobody explains the rulings of intercourse, what you do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you can and cannot do, so on and so forth. Khayran inshallah ta'ala, and of course we're all mature adults, bi'idhnillah. We can handle it, hopefully. And we want to learn what's correct, to do it, and to please our Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to avoid displeasing him. All right, we'll stop here. And inshallah ta'ala, hopefully we'll mention the rest of this discussion and the explanation of these hadiths in the next class. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.